Hello and good evening. As usual, it'll be just a couple minutes as we let folks who are on the Zoom meeting get joined in. We'll get started in just a moment. While we're waiting, if you have not yet, please take a moment to sample some of the fare from our wonderful school kitchens. They're demonstrating some of what they cook for our students, and it is tasty. I now call this meeting of the South Bay School Board to order. Our first item of business is the land acknowledgement. Director Jackson.
Thank you. In the past, we've issued an invitation to community to get involved by sharing a version of the land acknowledgement in their own words or in words that they find compelling and meaningful. And I had planned to come today and share with you a little bit about the moment that we're in, which is right around the anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Point Elliott. But today it was brought to my attention by a community member that there's a letter that is incredibly compelling on that very subject. And she has offered to read that for us today as a part of our land acknowledgement. So South Whidbey School District acknowledges that this is Indigenous land, and we invite Charlene Davenport to the microphone to share our land acknowledgement. Thank you.
I received an open letter from for the Whidbey NCI community from Carly Matthews, Vice Chairman, the Snohomish Tribe of Indians. I read this with the deepest respect for the Snohomish people who have occupied the majority of the south end of Whidbey Island. Quote, as we move through treaty season, marking the 171st anniversary of the Treaty of Point Elliott, signed January 22nd, 1855, remembering the Treaty of Point No Point, signed January 26, 1855, and reflecting just beyond the anniversary of the Medicine Creek Treaty, signed December 26, 1854, we find ourselves thinking less about dates and more about the people who stood inside those moments on these shores, beside these rivers, under these same skies. These treaties are not relics of the past. They remain legally binding commitments today. We think about how those treaties were made, not in comfort, not with full information, not with shared language or equal power. They were signed under duress. They were signed amid pressure and threat. And in some cases, they were not signed at all. Our ancestors did not come to those gatherings thinking about modern governments, corporations, or future recognition systems. They were thinking about survival, about salmon and rivers, about villages and burial grounds, about how to preserve lifeways, land, language, and kinship for children not yet born. Some signed because they believed it was the only way to protect their people. Some refused because they believed the cost was too great. Some fought in the treaty wars that followed, believing resistance itself was an act of care. None of them did this for only some of their children. None of them did this so that only some of their grandchildren would be remembered. None of them made these decisions so that entire bands, families, or peoples, including those who descend from multiple treaty signers and multiple nations, would later be forgotten. What followed was not accidental. It was intentional. It was enforced through removals, boarding schools, confinement, and laws that criminalized indigenous languages, ceremonies, and ways of life, and later through federal policies such as the General Allotment Act, Indian Reorganization Act, enrollment systems, and recognition frameworks that deliberately redefined identity, fractured families, and excluded entire peoples from the protections treaties were meant to secure. Many treaty-descended Snohomish families, along with many of our Duwamish, Steilacoom, Chinook, Chimicum, and other relatives remain outside federal recognition today, not because we ceased to exist, but because federal systems were designed to narrow who would be seen. This is not what our ancestors agreed to. That is not what they fought for. That is not what they prayed into the future. When we speak of treaties, we speak with our ancestors beside us. Their footsteps are still on these beaches. Their prayers are still in this wind. They remind us that responsibility does not end. It is handed down. This reflection is both a call out and a call in. It is a call out to systems and narratives that continue to benefit from selective memory, selective recognition, and selective responsibility. And it is a call in to relatives, neighboring tribes, and communities to remember that treaties were made by human beings under impossible conditions, acting with care for the future as best they could. Honoring the treaties means more than marking anniversaries. It means telling the truth about how they were made. It means recognizing all the descendants they were meant to protect. It means refusing stories that narrow indigenous existence to what fits on paper. Treaty rights are not special privileges. They are reserved rights, retained when vast homelands were taken. This is not about undoing treaties. It is about completing them, about remembering that treaties were promises rooted in relationship, not mechanisms of erasure. To our allies, we say this gently. When you walk these lands, you walk inside our ancestors' promises. Treaty responsible is not a moment. It is a relationship, one that grows like cedar, slowly through seasons of listening. We acknowledge that we have been quieter since November 12th panel council meeting. As winter comes and continues, so has the need for internal work. This quiet is not absence, it is tending. It is strengthening roots beneath the surface. We ask you to continue learning with us and growing with us, not as observers of history, but as people who now live inside its consequences. Treaty responsibility is relational. It deepens over time through listening, humility, and care. We have not left. We have not gone away. We are still here, still thinking, still listening, still carrying what needs to be carried forward. We thank those who have continued to hold space and who understand that growth, like the seasons, includes rest. We offer this with love and with strength because our ancestors carried responsibility for us under impossible conditions. We too must carry it forward with honesty, care, and courage. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, this is with the deepest, deepest respect for the Snohomish tribe.
Thank you, Ms. Davenport, for sharing that. Those are some powerful words. As we continue into this, I will note that this is a business meeting, so there will be an opportunity for public comment, but it will not be a back and forth communication or discussion. That if you would like to speak during public comment, please talk to Ms. McCarroll in the back. And when we get to that time, you can have your moment to address the board. and we will take into consideration what you are saying and pass forward through our thinking as we continue. With the beginning portions of this out of the way, are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes are approved as presented. We'll move on to our presentations first. Dr. Clifford.
So it is with great honor that I share the proclamation around Board of Distinction. There, out of the 295 school districts in the state, only about 40 or 50 in the past year received Board of Distinction. And so they don't have the data up for this year, for the 2025, but I wanted to note that because that's a pretty incredible reflection of the work that you do day in and day out, all of you, and the commitment that you've made to our community, to our students, and to our staff and families. So thank you so much. I'm going to read this proclamation on your behalf. Whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to ensure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible residents of a democratic society, enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And whereas Washington's 295 locally elected school boards and 9 elected educational service district boards are the core of the public education governing system in our state, and whereas the districts and regions they lead serve more than 1.1 million students, have a combined annual budget of over $16 billion, and employ approximately 120,000 people. And whereas school directors play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policy and budget, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved. And whereas school directors are directly accountable to the residents of their districts and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And whereas school directors and educational service districts provide a passionate voice of advocacy for public schools and the welfare of school children. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize school directors as outstanding public servants and champions of public education. I, Bob Ferguson, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as School Board Recognition Month. And I do really mean when I say that your commitment and your diligence and your steadfast work and your leadership in serving our students and supporting our district and leading the way is incredible. And this Board of Distinction really speaks to the strength and the outcomes and the achievement that you work towards every single day and that you accomplish and with your leadership. So thank you so much. And I will hand out your recognition, your diplomas of recognition. We have 2 of our colleagues who are going to come up and do a little presentation for you.
This is one of the most fun meetings of the year. Thank you.
So several years ago, I think maybe even pre-COVID, we started honoring the board with books that live in our library, but there's a nice book plate in the front that says this book honors the service of each board member. Personally, I just want to say thank you for all you do, for all the time that you volunteer to help our staff and students. And also on behalf of the staff, thank you.
Amanda Workman.
This is the best hire we made this year. She's amazing.
Val's Elementary School Librarian, and I'm very honored to be the middle school to high school. Books that represented
our first one. Oh, Marnie, okay, this was really fun because this book is
I'm
called
already
Man-
mad at that man.
Right? Well, wait for it. The man doesn't like animals, and if you don't know, Marnie is a animal lover. So a dog comes along and kind of adopts him, and he tells the dog to go away. He doesn't like animals, but somehow the dog stays, and he says, "Well, maybe this one's okay." And then along comes a cat. Same story. Pretty soon, there's chickens and dogs and goats, and everybody is man's doing okay. He's liking his life. The neighbors are complaining. So he said, well, you gotta go. But decides that he likes the animals more than he likes his house. And so he moves. And then there's a surprise at the end. But I always kind of picture that Marnie's house is like this with all your chickens and dogs and goats and cats. So this book is dedicated to Marnie Jackson.
It actually has an uncanny resemblance to some of the homes I've lived in. Thank you.
Andrea's not here. So
Andrea is here. I'm just on Zoom. I wasn't going to miss book night.
I know she loves book night. Okay.
You'll get me flu and all.
We'll feel better. The Together Tree is a story about a little boy who has his first day at school, and he is brown skinned and he's very shy. He doesn't engage with anybody else. And he isolated, but the other kids notice him sitting under the tree during recess, and they reach out to him. So this is a great story about including and welcoming and folks that may or may not look like you. Beautiful story.
Thanks, guys.
And we chose I Know How to Draw an Owl for you. This book is about a little girl who is asked in art class to draw an owl, and she draws a beautiful owl, and the art teacher asks her why, how she could do that, and what she won't tell. She's embarrassed and she won't tell. But you find out that she's been living in her car, and the family parks at the woods at night, and she has an encounter with an owl. So she sees an owl up close, and that's how she can draw him so well. And end of this book, she sees another child being dropped off at school who is obviously living out of his car. And again, she reaches out to the other student. Brooke, I didn't get you a nerdy book this year. I thought about it. This book is called The Gift of Words, and it's about a little boy who understands and recognizes the power of words. And so he goes out into the community to try to collect words and creates a tree. And it's all about understanding that the words we choose and the things we say and the way we put those words together have immense power. And the director of the board, I know that you're very conscious of that.
Thank you.
Didn't mind, we had to kind of talk good behind your backs to kind of get to know you. So I had the privilege of picking out something about Joe, and I learned a lot about you and your points about your relationship with nature. And I picked the book Alfie and Me, which is an amazing nonfiction book about this ecologist who, during COVID, a little owl was brought to him that was, he said it looked like a mitten. Like he didn't even know it was an owl. And so he had to rescue it and bring it back to life. And there's these really cool pictures of it. And what it taught him, of course, he was just doing it out of the kindness of his heart and who he is as a person and his job, but how amazing the relationship was between him and this owl, and what the owl taught him, and the resilience of this little owl that eventually had a family, had baby owls, but without COVID, that opportunity wouldn't have presented itself. He would have been at work. And so it was like this, it's this beautiful look at how from hard things come beauty and the importance of our relationship with nature, and especially with animals. And it just, from the things I hear about you, it just reminded me of you. And then I had the really cool honor of doing our student representatives. And again, I was talking good behind your back. I talked to your English teachers. And so when they were talking about you, these books just kind of came to mind. And I think Callahan, we did James. And if you haven't read James, everyone should read James. It's super important. And that's why I picked it, because your English teachers were saying how you love really smart books and intelligent books and books that make you think about the world in a different way than what we have seen it previously. They also said you love poetry, and I think Percival Everett, his writing is just so beautiful. And for those who don't know, James is we all know the story of Huckleberry Finn, and this is the book in the viewpoint of the enslaved person Jim that traveled with Huckleberry during his crazy adventure. And it's funny and it's heartbreaking, and I bet you there'll be a movie. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and it just reminded me of you with all the things that they and definitely read it. Check it out at the high school library now. And then for Lulu, I got this overwhelming feeling of you're just cool. You're just a cool kid. And Taylor,
She was cool in kindergarten.
all the way up. And Taylor Jenkins Reid is just a cool author. Like, she did Daisy Jones and the Six, which is all about this rock band, which they turned into a Hulu special. And she's just a really cool author. And this book, Atmosphere, which is on my TBR, might have been another reason why I picked it. But it's about this woman who finds out that they're looking for women scientists and who to go on into NASA. And so she decides she's going to, she just gets kind of obsessed with, she's obsessed with stars and with science. And she's this really cool person that just wants to do this beautiful, nerdy thing. And there's a little bit of a love story too. So I just think the person on the front, even looks she just looks cool. So yeah, what an honor to get to do this for you. These books will live in our libraries with your nameplate on them, and people can check them out. You guys can check them out, and you'll be remembered in our library. So thank you.
Thank you. I love this tradition, and it's always such an honor. And thank you so much. We should pick books for you someday.
We'll take them. Yeah.
I think it would be actually really fun, at the very least, as staff leave the district, to pick a book to add to the library in their honor. So, yeah. So just to share this tradition beyond this, because it feels really nice to be recognized, not just as doing something, but as something about the person who's being recognized. And so I think that that's really fantastic. It shows that you are getting to know us somewhat, which I always really appreciate. And so, yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to thank all of you again, and Val and Amanda, thank you so much for your gifts today and for your great description of our board members, because you did a great job.
Okay, next on our list is Ms. Brown with food service presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I have Kelly Hayslip here with me, our Chartwell's area director. I'm excited to share an overview of our program and how the district partnership with Chartwell's continues to support student health, operations, compliance across the district. Our shared goal is simple but important: to provide safe, nutritious meals that support learning, meet regulatory requirements, and create a positive experience for every student. To begin, I want to share with you our seasonal limited time promotions. We use this program to keep students excited about school meals. In the fall, our Dip into Flavor promotion lets the kids explore familiar foods with fun, flavorful sauces and spices. In the winter, Chili Days focuses on warm, comforting soups and casseroles that keep bellies full. These taste tests help us make sure we're serving foods students actually like before it becomes a part of the regular menu. A good example of that is our vegetarian chili. So it's become a once a month menu item. So it works. The next slide highlights how Chartwell's is staying compliant ahead of upcoming regulations. Our cereals, yogurts, and milk already meet 25-26 school year added sugar requirements. While the packaging looks familiar to students, the products are specially formulated for K-12. I can then select from an approved list of fully regulation-ready products to create the menus. In addition, nearly all red dye 40 has been already removed from K-12 products, putting us ahead of the 26-27 school year requirements and making the transition seamless for the district. Now that we've covered how we're staying ahead of nutrition and ingredients compliance, the next slide shows the impact that quality and student-friendly choices have on our program, which is meal participation. Charts show how many students we're reaching each day and the trends we're seeing across the district. As you can see, participation is trending up year over year. For the 24-25 school year, lunch increased by 3,433 meals. Breakfast increased by 4,408. September through December of this year, both lunch and breakfast participation stayed consistently higher each month compared to last year, with the exception of 2 days in December that we didn't have power. This tells us that students are choosing school meals more often and our program is moving in the right direction. Since we're talking about participation, it's a Harvest Feast. As one of our proudest events, Harvest Feast is made to bring students together with family and friends to share a meal at school. What makes it especially meaningful is the support from the district leadership, board members, and even the superintendent who join us to help serve. It turns lunch into a true community experience and creates lasting memories for our students. Last year's Harvest Feast welcomed 374 students and 200. This year, oddly enough, we had the same amount of students, 374 students, but 274 adults. That increase in family attendance shows how meaningful this event is for our school community, and we're proud to keep building that connection. As we look ahead, this slide shows what's coming next to keep students engaged, excited about school meals. First, we're introducing new recipes, and they're not all necessarily brand new, just new. Salads, hummus, popcorn, chicken, to keep the menu interesting while still meeting nutrition requirements. Second, we're bringing in the fun days like Pancake Day, breakfast for lunch, Pizza Day, and Italian Day to boost participation. Make lunch something students look forward to. And third, we'll continue to build excitement with activities like Lucky Tray Day, which is a simple, positive way to connect with students and encourage them to try the meals we're serving. So we'll put a little sticker on the tray, and whoever gets it out of that group will get keeps them excited about coming back. And that was a good reason too, the food part, to thank you for everything that you do and let you sample what we're serving. So.
I just want to say thank you for the treats and the recognition, and the fruit salad gets a thumbs up, and the chicken too. So, and I was starving when I came, so you saved my life. Thank you. So I just appreciate all the work you do and how much care you take with the kids, and just recognizing that food is such a powerful cultural tool as well as just filling bellies. So thank you for all of that.
+1, and I know that my daughter asks pretty regularly to have school lunch instead of whatever I'm going to pack for, and she's going to be very much looking forward to Pancake Day.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just wanted to restate, I think I heard you saying, but for our audience, if anybody wants a cookie, I still see some back there, and they're for everyone. Thank you so much.
Brought enough for everybody. Thank you.
Sorry for those of you who are on Zoom. We have not yet developed the technology to send them to you. We will now move on to our next presentation, which is the CPWI presentation by Lori Johnson and Taylor Lawson.
having us. We've had the pleasure of meeting you guys before. The Southby Cares Coalition, the coalition coordinator.
Feel free to hold the mic
Okay.
if that's easier.
And this is Taylor Lawson, the Deputy Director of Public Health. We're really excited to have you here today. We've developed a great relationship with Public Health and have a great partnership with them that's benefited both of us. So we did transfer this from Canva to PowerPoint, so there might be a couple of wonky slides. So this is you.
Hey, so I'm going to look at this here. We're here today for a variety of reasons, many of which you all are familiar with, but really looking at these goals and objectives are the things that we're going to be walking through in this presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to understand the benefits of CPWI and our coalition as a whole, understand what works and what doesn't in prevention, celebrate achievements, program progress, and benchmarks for the Southby Cares Coalition, to secure commitment or recommitment to support coalition goals and activities. And then objectives we're looking at are to connect key leaders to the coalition, increase awareness of CPWI process, prevention science, and evidence-based programs, gather key leader perspectives, and for each person in the room to walk away with one actionable activity.
And I just want to make a note at all of our coalition meetings, the 4 things that we try to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to connect with one another, learn something about themselves, about the community, or prevention in general. And then just listen to what's happening in our community and in other programs. And then for everyone to walk away with an actionable item. So CPWI, as many of you are familiar, takes a community coalition approach that works alongside schools. So we're in partnership with the local educational service district that provides a direct service component at the middle and high school that's known as our student assistance professional, who focus on prevention strategies, education, direct service, and as a support role for young people. So collaboratively with the coalition and schools, we work to expand quality prevention services and building healthy and safe community environments. We look at the social determinants of health, not just at an individual student level, and empowering people to make healthy choices and working towards eliminating health disparities. And so CPWI as a whole, we take the strategic prevention framework, which is kind of an adaptation from SAMHSA's strategic prevention framework. So the CPWI model, just slightly different because they're like Would-Be, they have to make something a little bit their own. And as state agencies also like to do. So as you can see on this, on the next slide. Thanks, Christy. They're very similar, which is, pretty close to most organizations in looking at assessment, gauging capacity, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And that just keeps circling around, not in order or going through the whole process before you swing back around, while keeping an eye on health equity, which we've moved away from using cultural competence. This is the strategic planning timeline. We go in a biennium. So on odd years, you can see we're looking at the Healthy Youth Survey, and every other year we look at a community survey provided by the Healthcare Authority that gauges the community's perception of youth use or youth health and wellness. And then we get the privilege of working with the county to analyze all the different data sources that we have and create a plan that really looks at the root causes of what might be causing substance use and or other challenges for young people.
So just kind of simplifying a little bit of what Lori has shared as CPWI in action. We look at the data, so determining local needs. We see this as a common thread that is woven through all of our systems and is unique to CPWI in looking at specifically substance use prevention, as well as Lori mentioned, youth health and wellness holistically. We identify strategies that address the root cause and the local conditions that facilitate as protective factors or risk factors. And then this 3 bucket here really has a lot to do with the ways in which we actually, create action through those strategies. So through information dissemination and education, community-based processes and organizing folks, activities for youth, family, and schools, problem identification and referral for different services, and then our environmental strategies, which really go beyond the human experience and looking into the local conditions, for example, to address these needs.
A lot of slides. So I'm going to just power us through a few of these because, yeah, for the sake of time. Why do we use a coalition versus just doing direct service prevention in schools or just picking a program? Coalitions are able to build capacity and leverage diverse community resources. It really creates buy-in and connectedness among our community to like every person who's at the table is working towards a common goal and really being present. We did this activity at our last coalition meeting, and one of the coalition coordinators from Oak Harbor that's new was like, how do you get people to come to your meeting every time? And or like, why do people come and why do they continue to come? And the bottom line was the people are cool. And that was the most common answer. But and then also like food is a big component. And so we started doing like a potluck and having that. So one of the other answers was like, there's food, I'm coming next month. And something that was a little more concrete was that people come because they get an opportunity to understand where one organization services end and where another organization can pick up that work and where they might fit into that continuum. We're skipping ahead to a couple more slides. One more. Okay. Why use substance use prevention? You can read this slide. I probably don't need to read it to you, but safer environments, better community, improved academic success, and then long-term health benefits. 72 slides. Well, we realized that we could be here for like 45 minutes. So this is our coalition, and we have a few vacancies, one of which is school. And in a having a support role person who's connected in the school would be helpful. We have a couple of people who kind of come in and out but aren't working directly in school. So that's one of our bigger priorities. And then media is, we kind of go back and forth with media, religious fraternal. We had someone in recovery, but they have moved on to other efforts. And then courts and judiciary, healthcare, and lived experience. The ones that are on the required list as option, you have to have 9 of the 12 sectors participating: school, media, and healthcare are the three on that list, but we have added additional sectors that we prioritize. And then just a little bit about like the overarching like South Woodby Cares, like what that really means. What is CARES? And that's community advancing support, resilience and education. Education didn't make the slide, but I can tell you about it. So we're really partnering with individuals and agencies to provide a safe and supportive environment for youth to grow up in. And the motivator for that is if you can think if you grew up in an environment in a community that you really loved, or you grew up here, like some of us, and you migrated back, you think about why you enjoyed living here. Sometimes that's just a reflection, not necessarily how you felt at the time, but thinking about how the community that you want your kids to grow up in that safe space, and having a third space and a community that wraps themselves around our youth. We really cultivate that in our coalition. Support organizations that provide youth with opportunities to build connections in the community, gain skills and healthy relationships with school, peer, family, employment, and culture. So it's not really our job to provide all of the services. We're not really a direct service organization, but we help support organizations who are doing good work, and we can highlight that. And then resilience, why this matters. When youth feel seen, supported, and connected in their neighborhoods, they're less likely to engage in substance use. And then the education piece is connected in a couple of ways, but like the main is like making sure that young people have the right information to make healthy choices and for themselves. That one. You want to go to mission and vision alignment? The next slide. One more. Okay. Do you want to do this one?
Lori and I spent some time looking through mission and vision statements across our systems, starting with the South Woodby Cares Coalition, which is represented here on this slide. And we really looked, I'm just going to kind of skip through a little bit, but we looked at the comparison and relationship between the school districts. Thank you. Mission and vision as well, to find the common denominators, the way in which they're all connected. And we kind of found the synergy on the next slide as well between those, which was really interesting. It's looking at our safe and supportive environments, positive relationships, community partnerships, and all in collaboration with communities. So really centering around the voice and lived experiences of our community. And then 2 more slides down is like a colorful representation of how we found connection between not just South Woodby Cares Coalition and South Woodby School District. We looked at public health and human services, the healthcare authority as a larger entity, and even the Department of Health, and found all of these really wonderful ways in which we're all working towards the same thing. And so it really benefits all of us in so many ways. And
just that sometimes we are working in silos and don't really know what if our vision and mission is aligned with some of the other things that are happening in our community. And so we work really hard to like really look at what other folks are working on, and then either make sure that we're interweaving ourselves into other organizations so that we can highlight the importance of maybe what's not being in the forefront. And then maybe we also missed something, like how did that become a priority for you? And is that something we should be looking at? So this beauty is, next slide, Christy, is the Healthcare Authority's logic model that we work with. Don't worry, we're going to move on to a slide that's easier to read. But this is basically the outline of the work that we do, and how we align our risk and protective factors to community coalition work, and then also direct service programs and priorities. So next slide is the junior and readable version that's a little bit easier. So you can take a look at how we move through the strategic prevention framework. All of the things start at the core of why we do this work and who's at the table to do this work, and then looking at what the community is experiencing. And then how do we plan for that? Taking a deeper dive, what's happening here versus what's happening in another community. We don't register as rural on every list. However, we have limited access to conveniences. And I mean, I don't need to go into that, but so we consider ourselves rural and we participate in a rural prevention network that provides lots of support and information and professional development. So as we go through the planning process, then, you know, we're looking at the implementation, and all of our programs are evaluated based off of the assessment that that process that we went through. I think I stole your slide. So in all of that, we're building capacity, and it really comes down to the human aspect. If we don't have humans connected to the work and to each other and to our community, direct service programs aren't going to solve the problem. So that community connectedness and reducing community disorganization is at the core of what we're doing. And so outreach for us goes beyond you know, like promotion and other things. So we go where the people are. And a couple of the meetings that I participate in, I joined the Community Health Advisory Board. And my motivation is to keep youth and prevention at the table with the Board of Health. And I don't know if you guys have really looked at some of the priorities among our community, but youth aren't hitting the list so much. And so I feel like it's my personal mission to keep youth at the table and not lose that priority. The other, oh, great. You want to, oh, okay. Thank you. Fancy. And then I participate in the state opioid response meetings. We have a couple of different statewide meetings. One that is the opioid overdose response planning team across our state. And then the state opioid, I'm gonna hand that to you. The other is a meeting across our state where communities can talk about the safe disposal and safe storage of opioids and how that's going and how we can increase communication about that. And then this is, this is a couple of people on our outreach team, Dr. Gwen Sipes and Gwendy Gabeline. And they both have been instrumental in promoting and showing up for our different events and being present, especially the drug take back. Gwendy's been very committed to the drug take back and promoting that. And we go to public health events. We're often sharing a table with public health and or human services, and really enjoyed that partnership. Okay. So how does our coalition work together? We have community and membership engagement through a few different coalition work groups. We have a youth engagement planning team, an opioid prevention committee that's been meeting since 2019. 2019. And is like the longest standing and most frequent meeting. We meet pretty much weekly for an hour or so, and lots of volunteer hours and effort goes into that. We are mentoring the Community Coalition Coordinator from Oak Harbor. She's new and fabulous. And I'm so excited because we have this opportunity to really bring prevention together in a more strategic way across our island, which we didn't have the opportunity to do with the previous coordinator, and then really supporting Coopville, which doesn't have a coalition or any that sort of formalized support or funding. This is Amy. Our community partners, this is just a few of our community partners that we work with very closely with the Langley Police Department and the Educational Service District 189 and Readiness to Learn, the Community Center. We're so blessed to be housed at the Community Center and have that space. We are very fortunate. And Washington Poison Center, Parent to Parent, Would Be Community Foundation, the list could go on. And then our state, regional, and county partners. I sit on a board for our reporting team at the Healthcare Authority. We do things the South Whidbey way that isn't always the straight path to whatever we're working on. And so I challenge their reporting system pretty consistently to make it really reflect the work that we're doing and not just be something that we have to plug in every month because it doesn't serve them or us. And so and then the Department of Health, like I said, we do the quarterly safe medication state and county information exchange. And then we work directly with the Youth Cannabis Commercial Tobacco Prevention Program, which is housed at the county, and Community Health Advisory Board, the Rural Prevention Network. If you guys ever have just like conference, like bugs and you really want to go to a conference, the Rural Prevention Network is where it's at. And every other time it's virtual, and the virtual conference was the best I've ever been to. So this is our capacity building activities. That's kind of gives the key performance indicators and what we do every month, and then how that's evaluated, mostly through the coalition assessment tool, which is provided by the Healthcare Authority. And then we do internal evaluations of our meeting effectiveness or coalition activity effectiveness through activities like liberating structures, if you're familiar with those. And this is the minimum deliverables that are required by the Healthcare Authority. And so for coalition meetings, there needs to be 9 coalition meetings with 8 sectors represented at each meeting. That has some flexibility, and we usually have 6 to 8 at every meeting, and sometimes more, just depending. 1 environmental strategy, we have 2, maybe 3. 1 direct service program, we have 2. And we have the student assistance professional that's housed at the middle school and high school, who typically would attend and work more collaboratively with the coalition. And we're working on building that relationship some more. And public awareness campaigns, and then community outreach.
This is right. So why coalitions? Community coalitions bring people together. And as Lori's mentioned quite a few times, the benefit of this is that we're leaning on partners and neighbors who are already doing this work, bringing together a full picture of the kind of landscape of youth support and support within our community to help sustain projects and programs that help to address prevention or substance use prevention, but through the holistic lens. And then a lot of these things actually we've already talked about a little bit, but the local data is really what drives our work and understanding where individuals youth specifically, but also our parents and our guardians and adults in our community are at in their understanding and needs around substance use. Nice. So this is a very simplified way of looking at it. We take evidence-based actions, and those actions they're intended to delay the initial use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And by doing so, this decreases the likelihood of substance misuse and promotes positive, healthy behaviors. Some effective prevention strategies. The check marks the good, X is not so great. Looks at interactive approaches for good social development strategy, which is an entire study. Delayed initiation, which looks at the behavior of youth in our community. We have peer-to-peer programs, which really lean on youth supporting each other through difficult times or positive times in their lives. And then other evidence-based prevention strategies. Some of the least or less effective prevention strategies we've seen throughout the years are things such as Just Say No, mock car crashes, DARE, and one-time assemblies or events where there's not so much of a relationship building component.
One of our environmental strategies is around school policy review. And Dr. Becky and I have discussed this a little bit. And our objective is just to increase the capacity for our community to collaborate with the South Louis School District in a review school policy and understanding, as well as where there's opportunity to maybe give, I don't want to say influence, but some sort of contribution to the policy.
Professional
And-
input.
What's that?
Professional input.
Yes, thank you. So the implementation of that really just looks like a partnership and conversation and deepening the understanding for the coalition. And then the long term is looking at how policies and procedures within the district are looking at alternatives to suspension, and is that supportive? Is that supported through a prevention strategy rather than just going through an in-school suspension or an alternative? And really utilizing the student assistance professional in the best way possible during that. For those times, we can offer different programs that can offer support with goal setting and looking at why that's happening. So the evaluation tool is just the potential to have increased referrals to the student assistance professional. We're going to skip ahead to the low community attachment. Actually, this is just data that you've already seen. So this is one of our direct service programs, the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness. It's a one-time session that builds relationship with a young person. They get to talk about some of the things that they take a survey, and it kind of identifies what might be challenging them. Like, are they getting good sleep? Are they getting good nutrition? Like, are you taking good care of yourself? What might be a barrier to your health and wellness, and how, what are ways that you can increase your own health and create a pathway for that. And so Dr. Gwen Sipes is one of our main facilitators. We just revamped the materials to be in the 21st century and a little more appealing to young people. And she got some youth input on making that happen. And so this is a one session, which is typically not a effective prevention strategy, but because of the relationship that the facilitator makes with the young person and how they're kind of walking alongside making decisions for themselves, and they're a trusted adult. So as they build that relationship. Oop, yep. Laura is our student assistance professional. I don't have a picture of her this year, but I've shared what she does at the middle school and high school. And she also has the potential to offer the sport prevention plus wellness to students as a discipline alternative. One of our goals is to decrease the availability of prescription medication. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot. And a lot of it's just about getting information out there and increasing safe practices with storing your medication, as well as not letting it sit on your shelf and ending up in our waterways. We typically see people come in with gallon-sized bags filled with medication during the drug take back. And our next, so you can see here the Ziploc bags of medication that have come in the past. We did not pack those bags. They came to us that way. We offer mailback bags, safe storage bags. This is an example of a kiosk that are limited in our community due to the number of pharmacies that we do not have. And then this year was our highest number of attendees and the largest amount of medication that we have collected. This year they were in the containers, but if you can imagine, the containers are not super heavy. So we collected almost 52 pounds. 51.5 pounds of medication. Typically, we're looking at like maybe 19. That was our highest before this year. So, yeah. And we're working. I don't want to say too much about this because it's very much in the works and could be just, I can't overpromise or let too much out of the bag. So we're working on a community-based mentoring program. We've got a couple of different organizations who are working with us, and we're just on the edge of making that happen. So I look forward to telling you more about that the next time we're together. And then we would encourage anyone in the room to come to a coalition meeting, learn more about what we're doing. We are not going to make you sign your life away. If you come, we'll probably feed you. We are really nice people, and we have a lot of fun. Usually there's a game or two, but we get stuff done. And then just stay connected and help support getting the word out to the community and sharing about what we're doing. So we have, oh, there it is. We have a little post evaluation for y'all. So anyone in the audience or online can do that. It's just, like less than 5 minutes, very quick. And we very much appreciate it. Yeah. You'll have these slides so you can also delay, but really appreciate it.
I will note that we up here on the board are not supposed to be using electronic communication during board meetings, so we will do this after the meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the in-depth view on what you're doing and what you're working on and how you're supporting youth and others in the community. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, +1 to the appreciation. I'm curious, do you have youth or student representatives on your coalition?
Representation, yeah.
Excellent. And for the South Whidbey School District representative, paint us a picture of the qualifications, experience, etc., that an ideal representative from the district would have?
A connection. Just connection to young people and understanding of what programs we have, what programs might be needed, like what's a little bit of experience, but really it's about like a communication pathway, because we're not in schools every day. And so we try to stay connected, but really like having that pathway of communication and with administrators, with young people, just to maybe grease the wheel sometimes, help get things to where they need to go. People are busy, teachers don't have a lot of time. So being that communication liaison.
And I would add that it's after school hours, so it's harder for us to dedicate or select a staff member to do that. So it'd be our administrative team, and we have rotated in, and thank you for the invitation. Both Mr. Field and I have attended one of these meetings, and I hope to come back again. They conflict with some other things that I have. And we're also, as we've talked about, trying to identify who and when and where we're bringing administrators in so that they're not everywhere all the time. So, but we recognize that this is something important and trying to figure out what that looks like.
We can also adjust. I'm sure that no one has extra time in their day during the school day. However, our coalition meetings are from 4 to 6, but that doesn't mean that we can't adjust our schedule to be able to have leadership meet with someone, not at a full coalition meeting.
I remember there was an October Take Back Day. Is the next one likely to be October 2026? April. Excellent. Thank you.
They happen twice a year, so always in April and October. So helps.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the work that you do day in and day out.
And will the drug take back dog be present? Okay, great.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll now turn to our student board members report.
This week we're kicking off the new semester, and I think students are really excited for their classes, just like a change of routine and just like a fresh start. For the past 2 weeks, we had Costa Rican exchange students come and stay with host families, and then attend classes and like a field trip to Seattle and just like exploring Whidbey Island and stuff. And so I think they had a great time.
There is also a jazz band competition tomorrow in Vancouver, Washington. So that's exciting. Senior night for boys and girls basketball just happened last night, and I went and I played in the pep band, and that was a really cool experience, and it was super fun to watch. And senior night for wrestling just happened tonight, and I also went for a bit of that. That was also fun to watch. And swim finals are in a couple weeks.
At the middle school, they have a dance this Friday, A Night in Paris, which is a free winter dance with a dress your best dress code. New electives for this third quarter, which is like a great way to try new classes and just explore new things. Winter 2 sports tryouts for girls basketball and wrestling began this week. The middle school is teaming up with the high school to invite students to the Everett Community College Student Career Conference in March. They're inviting many students, but specifically potential first generation college students. And then lunchtime intramurals such as Pig and a 3v3 tourney have been a big hit this winter. And then also they just begun a knitting and crocheting club. So if you're looking to donate materials, they would like that.
And then at the elementary school, the 5th grade just did a U.S. postcard exchange to connect with peers nationwide. And they also had a Martin Luther King Day of Service project with 2nd graders, and they created handmade poster with his quotes. The 1st and 5th grade also made muffins to thank the school farms, and then students are also looking forward to more improvements and continued to enjoy the playground.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? I was just curious, how many exchange students were there? Do you know?
I think there was around like 14.
Wow. And are any of our students going to get to go down to their schools?
I believe it was like this previous summer. So I think it's like,
excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sorry to put you all on the spot like that, but bravo for having the answers. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is asking if there are any objections to approving the consent agenda as presented. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved, including the instructional calendars for 26-27 and 27-28. So if you're trying to plan a spring break or summer break or winter break trip, now you can. We'll now move on to public comments. While we look to see who we have here in the room, I will note if you are on Zoom, please use the Q&A function, which is under the More command, to note your name and location first and foremost, just so we know that you have a comment, and then start typing up your comment. We'll now turn to those who are in the room.
The answer is green is good because I heard it. Todd Williams Langley. This school district is not serious about special education. You look at kids as problems and parents as uneducated, annoying, and even, quote, causing serious adverse effects upon the student's educational progress, unquote. You seem to shun the law and maintain an opacity around the problems, around your problems, in the interest of your liability and at the detriment of our children. In fact, your actions, like many school districts, make the problem worse by, in the words of a teacher in this building, treating children with different learning characteristics as, quote, a problem child to be dealt with, and not as, quote, a child needing our support, unquote. You have given up on our kids, which you have labeled as special ed. You move them to another room where they're out of sight and out of mind. This attitude is in nearly every conversation. The phrase, the challenge of special ed children exists in every district. We are not unique. It is a problem that if it could be solved, it would have been solved. Will never be said in front of me again without me highlighting the defeatist attitude of that statement. I have heard that phrase from school board members. I have heard it from superintendents, both past and present. This phrase surrenders to the defeat before the first child steps in the classroom. No, this phrase is not, quote, the reality we must live with, unquote. And I am not a quack standing up here ignoring science. This is a status quo uttered by short-sighted district employees. Where would we be if these following kids had not left school due to the oppression from their teaching systems, due to their disabilities, and fallen to the status quo? Would the mainstay be candles and horses? Benjamin Franklin. Experts believe from everything that they read that he was autistic or ADHD and had dyslexia. He dropped out of school at the age of 10. As we all know, he discovered electricity in the 1750s. And civilization had to wait another 120 years for some other special ed kids to figure out how to use it. Einstein using it to illuminate a filament, and Tesla to turn an electric motor. Our world changed. Thomas Edison is the most famous inventor who did not complete school, receiving only 3 months of formal education. Labeled addled and unteachable by teachers at the age of 12, he was homeschooled by his mother. Little has changed in the last 150 years. My son had nearly that same statement leveled upon him 15 months ago, November 1st, 2024, a little after 3:15 in the afternoon, by his special ed caseworker and his general ed teacher. Neither Wilbur nor Orville Wright finished school. They were presumed to be dyslexic and autistic on the having Asperger's. Man flight would have happened, but they made it happen. Einstein, who had dyslexia, Asperger's, and severe astigmatism, dropped out of high school at 15, citing the a dislike for rigid traditional teaching methods. At the time, his theories were extremely controversial. Yet 120 years later, they still stand, and maybe 5% of our population even understands them. Others dropped out of college. Charles Darwin, Stephen Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. Only one of them would not have qualified as special ed. You may not have the answer for special education, but you certainly cannot throw in the towel on the first day of your job. What you can do tomorrow is to change the attitude of the administrators and the teachers and the students. To use the words of another teacher in this building, you can stop looking at these children as broken and realize that they learn differently. You can stop, and because they learn differently than you, maybe they have far more insight. I have a total of about a minute and a half more. Last summer, my son left second grade with a kindergarten reading level. He told me he did not want to go to third grade. I took on the challenge, and in that process discovered that he did not know his vowels, consonants, or syllables.
I'm sorry, sir. I just want to check about the time because
And
we
I
do
asked
need
for
to be
2 more
consistent.
minutes. I spent a significant amount of time volunteering at this school, hundreds of hours, and I believe I can get 2 more minutes. I think that I'm owed that.
I'm just
Okay.
turning to our chair because I see you gesturing at your watch, and I do want to ask that we're consistent so that we can have equitable practices for every speaker.
We do have a 5-minute time limit on public comment. You have
Well,
completed the 5
I feel
minutes.
that I really do deserve this because I have not been heard. I have been shunned. I have been pushed out. Okay. And my son has suffered from that.
A point of order, just from human to human, you will get what you want better if you follow the rules of our meeting than if you break those rules. I'm asking you, please, to not go down this path.
Okay.
If you would like to leave the words you've written with us, I will certainly read them and share them with the other board members.
Brooke, you have not answered the last few emails I've sent you, so I don't trust that process. Okay. This is a problem that we
Point of
have to
order.
address.
We need to follow our rules for how we conduct the public comment
And I
portion of
think
our
we
meeting.
need to put the children ahead of everything else.
Mr. Williams, we do need to end public this comment at this time.
Well, I will just say that through my tutelage, Jesse has gone up
Point of
92
order.
points in his iReady exams.
Sir.
And he has gone
Chair, could I
from
ask that
kindergarten
the
to
meeting be
second
briefly
grade level.
adjourned as a point of order?
through my work, not yours.
Next person on the list, please. That's all we have in person. I'm checking here. We have no one who has commented on Zoom. So that is the end of our public comment period. We'll move on to new business. We have several items of new business for action tonight. Our first is Memorandum 2526-12, approval of the update to South Liberty School District Policy 1630, evaluation of the superintendent.
And I owe Mrs. Macaro an apology. She asked me to double check that we had all of our changes back from our December meeting, and with me being ill, I wasn't able to get back to her in time. With this policy, the only change that we would need to make to have it aligned with our conversation in December is the last line. The WASDA provides a gold standard model to support the effective evaluation of the superintendent should not be in this policy. So before we move forward, I would make a motion to strike that clause from the policy.
Okay, we have a motion to strike this initial, the final line from this policy. Is there any discussion on the amendment to be had? No discussion on the amendment. Okay, can we get advisory votes on the amendment from our student representatives?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of amending this policy as written to strike that last line, please say aye.
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 We will now return to our discussion of the policy itself. Is there any debate or discussion to be had on it as amended? This is one of those ones that in fact, all of these tonight are ones that we discussed at our workshop 2 weeks ago. Okay, do we have advisory votes on the memorandum as amended from our student representatives?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2526-12 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2526-13, approval of WASDA new policy 3425, accommodating students with adrenal insufficiency.
These policies were reviewed by our nursing staff, and as they are the experts in it, I think that it's appropriate that we move forward with their recommendations.
Okay, is there any debate or discussion to be had on this item? Okay, student representatives, could we have advisory votes on this memorandum?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2526-13, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2526-14, approval of the update to South Liberty School District Policy 1820, Board Self-Assessment. I'm just pulling this up myself. We made several changes to this one, just changing the wording on this. Director Downs, I don't think we had anything major there.
Nope.
Any debate or discussion on this one? Okay. Could we have advisory votes from the student representatives on this memorandum?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2526-14, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2526-15, approval of the update to South Liberty School District Policy 2170, Career and Technical Education.
This one just had minor language change.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have some pieces.
Any debate or discussion on this item? Okay, student representatives, if we could have advisory votes on this memorandum.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2526-15, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2526-16, approval of the update to South Liberty School District Policy 5000, recruitment, selection, and evaluation of staff.
This is the one where we had the conversation around whether or not this policy read that the board made staffing decisions. And I believe, Dr. Clifford, you were going to take a look at some of the language. Did you have any recommendations for this policy, and or should we table it or move forward?
Let's table it.
Okay.
So I would take a motion to postpone this memorandum until we choose to take it back up on the agenda.
I move we postpone this memorandum.
Okay,
I can second that.
Thank you. Student representatives, do you have a advisory vote on postponing this until we can get a little more information?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of postponing this memorandum, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, memorandum 2526-16 has been postponed. We'll bring it back at a future meeting. Memorandum 2526-17, approval of the update to South Louis School District Policy 4040, public access to district records.
These were all good changes that we were in support of.
Yeah, as I recall, this was just acknowledging some realities of cost.
Yep.
Okay, is there any debate or discussion to be had on this item? Okay, student representatives, can we have your advisory votes on this memorandum?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving memorandum 2526-17, please say aye.
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 Memorandum 2526-17 has been approved. That concludes our new business, save for the one item that has been postponed for a later date. We'll move on to reports. Dr. Clifford. Actually, this one will be turning over to Mr. Field first.
So before we jump into the financial report, the other item that's in here is the increase in the mileage rate from 70 cents to 72.5 cents. It's just the standard change in the IRS rate. So that's going to be changed on our mileage reimbursement form. There's not a slide in this presentation related to that. It's just we make that announcement at this meeting.
What was the change again? I didn't.
2.5 cents. So from 70 to 72.5 cents per mile.
Thank you.
So this will be our enrollment as of January and our financial position as of December. So the status quo is staying the same. We're 93 kids in basic education over our budgeted number. We'll see that in our January apportionment report when it gets adjusted for the actual. So that's all good news there. Hop to the next one, Christy. So here's that line graph presentation. So we're still way above where we have been over historical. So that increase, this again is just status quo. Nothing's changed significantly from the last months. This is the same information in bar graph presentation, just total FTE. And this next slide here shows the grade bands where we're picking the kids up. So orange is the current fiscal year. So if you jump from the green line in K to the orange line in 1, you can see where we've basically gained kids in almost every grade band. Most visible in between 6 and 7 and 7 and 8, where we just picked up a bunch of students this year in the middle school and then all across the K5 grade band. And this is by budget. So we're over budget every grade band except grade 11. Nothing's changed from these slides will stay pretty static through the end of the year. So jumping into our financial report, 33% through the year, 31% of our revenue collected, but remember our revenue comes on a double bell curve, so it won't always line up perfectly. 32% of our expenditures. The bottom gauges show with encumbrances. So you can see our payroll with encumbrances is 101% of budget. Just a reminder that we hired the kindergarten teacher. We added staff at the middle high school or the middle school grade band. So we've added staff to accommodate this 93 kids over basic ed budget that we've gotten through the year. So that's why that numbers will be over. It'll be over probably for the whole entire year. But we still have capacity because we're only 92% of our budget with encumbrances. So we're looking in good shape this year. This is just our revenue and expenditure. We're really consistent. The lines really lay right on top of each other, so it's hard to see, but consistent with prior year. This is our revenue, which is even more consistent. When we jump to expenditures, it's a little more erratic, but our money comes in from our collections on that double bell curve that you can see there. This is revenue by source. In nothing out of the ordinary. I don't have a lot of, it's a pretty vanilla month this month. And then here's our expenditures where you see it just depending on when we buy stuff, specifically MSOX, it gets a little more, it's not as consistent year over year. Yeah, and this is, sorry, the other one was like payroll. This is MSOX. This is a lot more erratic. And then here's payroll that's a lot more consistent. When we get to the end of the year with settlements and stipends and retirements, it jumps around a little bit as payouts happen because contracts typically end in June and start in July. This is by category over time. Again, there's nothing jumps out to me as out of the ordinary. It's just kind of status quo. And then here's our fund balance percentage ending December at 20.65. This is the statutory requirement budget status report, which is all the graphs and lines we show just in a table formatted form. And then this is switching funds to the capital projects funds. And this is really just trying to show over time as we spend the bond, the amount spent in the expenditures will meet. There'll be no bond money left and all the expenditures will be gone. So it's just showing over time. You can see the jump ups in revenues when we sold the bond. And then that expenditure line, which is that blue line, will ultimately match up with the revenue. Well, it'll be the same because we would have spent all of the bond funds. And then this is the balance, the final balance of all the other funds for as of December. So with that, are there any questions?
No, thank you very much. Actually, there is, I did think of one. We start getting the makeup funds from the state after in January, correct?
Yeah,
For
and our
being over
January,
budget.
our January apportionment. So when we run from September through December, it's based off of what I budgeted in our enrollment. In January, they look at the actual average FTE and make that adjustment.
Excellent. So our revenues will go up sharply compared to.
They'll jump up in January, and then it'll kind of level off because they'll just they recalculate, and then it still gets that double curve, but it'll be higher than we budgeted because we budgeted roughly 100 kids less.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm my memory on that. Okay, Dr. Clifford.
I have the January written report that goes along with all of my goals. So you can check that out and see what's been updated for there. There's some partnership updates. Professional development continues to move forward, and some other pieces. So I'll let you read that later on. And then this will be a quick presentation. We'll go to the next slide. All sections in the report are either yellow, which means they're in progress. A number of things that I put as ongoing because there are going to be things, some of those items are also aligned with the goals. I embedded my goals into the superintendent transition plan, or entry plan. So some of those things are going to last beyond this January date, which I had originally scheduled it to kind of end at January. So there's some ongoing pieces. The ride along, which had initially said the police, I switched that out to say sheriff, and I completed that because I did the bus and the sheriff ride along. So you'll see that everything is, and some of it is just the date is started if it's not completed, but everything's in motion. So I'm proud that I'm continuing to make progress. So, and that's the collective. So I'm proud of our district, for the staff, the students, and the families, and for your all support in being able to continue to make the progress in my entry plan. I'm going to move to the next slide. On here, I just, we're in January, we're already in it, and we're in the new year. But for me, and the outage is not a new thing windstorms are not a new thing for all of you, but this was new for me. And so I just wanted to say that I just am so grateful and appreciative of our community, of our families, of our student staff, the board for your guidance. Every once in a while, we checked in. I got to see our team in action and Mr. Fields, and my chair is sliding down right now, so I'm a little distracted. Picked the wrong seat today. And Mr. Lawson. The three of us were almost around the clock at the sites. The two of them were making sure that the facilities were taken care of and that they didn't get negatively impacted or we had any additional damage to our sites. And Ms. Baccaro for helping with the communication and continuing to be on top of all of our work. So, you know, that was, we tried to be really as communicative as possible and try to be as mindful. And I have to tell you, being able to bring kids back on Friday was the biggest joy for me. I got to be in every single classroom. Some of the middle school students gave me some recommendations on what to do over the holiday here. And so that was fun. But just to see, I think that the students were happy also to see their friends before they were going on holiday. So it was, so I just wanted to thank the community for rallying around. And for those of you who this was just a blip in the part of our year, thank you for continuing on that. And for those of you, I just appreciate that. There's been so many events starting from last year into this year that overlapped from the time at our last board meeting. I got to see a portion of the jazz concert over at Wicca. We have celebrated senior nights, have had for our teams. There's been clubs. The Costa Rica students have come in, and that was wonderful meeting their admin and the students. And they had a big celebration on Friday. I did not stay for it, but they had a little dance and some food and all that. And so just still great demonstration of pride in our schools. And then I shared with you all when we did the training in September about the hate speech or the speak up training, that is embedded in a larger training called Interrupting Hate Speech. And so, and that we were working on that. We started our first cohort. There's a six series, 6 sessions, and we're in the cohort with the ESD. We have 8 people that are participating in this cohort together. We have 1 community member, and then we have administrators and staff from all levels. So we're fully represented, and I'm attending. We were amply represented, and they mentioned that they were impressed. And when they were doing the training, they had the speak up built in. So our team got to see how this is connected, but it's really just about policy. It's just about our the protected classes and making sure that we're supporting students. And so it's a really good structure, and they're giving us resources, they're teaching us, and they're also giving us time to work. So to make it tailored to our school and our district and our communities. So that was a nice celebration. And I think that everybody had some time it's in Anacortes, so we had some drive time to talk and connect as well about the content and just as individuals. I'm continuing my staff meet and greets. You'll see that I've also had some more community meet and greets, but I met with 8 additional classified members. They're a little bit harder to meet because they're either working with students or they're not here, or if they're here, they're in PD. So I was able to capitalize on that half day to meet with some of our elementary folks, and that was really great, and they're a great team, really great team. And I'll continue to do that. We'll eventually have another parent engagement. The instruction and professional development, we're talking about math. I've been spending the last couple of conversations with the secondary team, talking about looking at our math pathways, not changing them, but how can we continue to deepen our practice, knowing that our focus this year and going forward is math. We are also looking at redesigning job descriptions for our special ed teachers at the secondary or the high school level to see if they can be dual endorsed, so that they have content area training and in their education and background and their special ed area training, so that we can support meeting students' needs and also having a level of rigor, increasing the level of rigor that we might be able to access at the high school level. So we're just looking at how we are continuing to support our math. That's one example. many. I'm not going to repeat all of the other professional development bit, but we've continued the professional development that we've been talking about all throughout the year. It's been an ongoing training. And then our special ed program review started, and then this week she was on site. One of the team members was on site, and she did an internal interview with staff. There's a part 2 because there's more staff to be interviewed. And then she is also going to be sending out a parent survey. So we're going to do multi-prong getting out to parents because we really want to get as much parent input as possible. The survey models after the state survey that they give to school districts every other year. So it'll give us a baseline data to the state survey that we'll be getting next year. So that'll be nice to have that through line of data. And then I forgot going back up to the instruction. We also are going to be hiring a new principal. The posting will be coming out this week. And and we're hoping to get parent input. We've got all staff input from the elementary, but we're also hoping to get parent input. And we've got a few now, so we'll resend out that link, and we want as much as possible to help inform our process. And then the last thing on the next slide, I'm not going to say too much about this because we had a really comprehensive study session or work session 2 weeks ago about the bond and the construction work. So, but the one thing I will say is that we highlighted that our team is really trying to be intentional about when they're doing work and maximizing every single moment and minimizing impact of students. That first picture shows how during break, that's near the entrance, where students are coming in, they did that work during break so that it would not impact the students. And so we also could continue to do work that would have had to be postponed at a later date. And then the second is Mr. Field shared this with me that they are putting on insulation onto the building now. So we're continuing to make progress. Thanks.
Any comments or questions for Dr. Clifford? I want to note, I really appreciated the level of updates during the power outage. Yes, they happen 2 or 3 times a year, but it's really good to know when we're going to know. I really appreciated hearing in the evening that we'll have an update. We think it will be this, but we'll have an update at 5 a.m. when we make the determination. Knowing that was good peace of mind for me as a parent. So thank you. And thanks to your team.
Rich, I would also second that, especially because, like, for example, at my house, I don't have any cell service. And so knowing what time to drive into town to get service was really helpful.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Director Downs. We'll move on to our board comments and reports. Do we have anyone who would like to make a report?
Yeah, I'd like to start by thanking the gentleman who made a public comment today. And I wanted to offer a little context for why I interrupted, because I do sometimes make public comment to governing bodies as a citizen myself. And I have been interrupted, and I know it doesn't feel good. And so I just want to acknowledge that I didn't do that lightly, but I did that because I believe that we need consistency in the application of our practices, and that it's more fair to all community members if everyone has clear guidance about how they can participate. And so I just want to say I value the neurodiversity in our world, and I was actually really wrapped with attention to hear about all of these notable figures who were pointed to as examples of how neurodivergent community members contribute greatly to our society. And so I just wanted to say thank you for sharing those perspectives. And thank you, Chair, for being willing to hold us to the 5-minute time limit. Additionally, I wanted to just offer an update about the legislative conference that we attended. I really appreciated the opportunity to go down and hear from our boy, I'm spacing out on the name for the second governor. The governor's the lieutenant governor. I was like, vice governor's not right. I'm tired. It's been a long day, but that was a lovely long day that we shared, day and a half. And I just really appreciated the number of school board members, student representatives, superintendents, school administrators, teachers who are contributing to raising their voices together to ask for the equitable, ample funding that is our constitutional right for the public students of this state. And so I wanted to say thank you to my colleagues who went on that adventure with me. And thank you to Lieutenant Governor Heck for being a keynote speaker at that event. And I have been in communication with our representatives, Representatives Paul and Shavers and Senator Muzzall. I've spoken with the aides of all three of them, and if it's possible for them to meet with us with a delegation from South Whidbey later in February, we would very much like to arrange that. So I've been in communication with Dr. Clifford about finding some times that might work, and I want to say thanks.
Thank you.
During my comment period, I'm going to be discussing a specific policy, and so I just wanted to make it clear that these are my views only, and they don't necessarily represent my board colleagues or the district. Yesterday was International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I rewatched Schindler's List, and I was struck by the haunting similarities between the scenes I saw on the screen and the scenes I'm seeing on the screen when I watch the news. The rounding up of people, not because of crimes committed, but because of their identities, homes entered without due process, and extrajudicial killing in the streets. Our duty, I believe my colleagues would agree, before anything else, is the safety and well-being of the youth in our community. But right now across this country, schools are closing due to fear of unidentified masked men apprehending students and their parents. Moreover, 37 people over the past year have died in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. These tragedies are not isolated incidents. They're a pattern of abuse, and it is not possible to simply reform an organization like that violates constitutional rights and kills civilians in broad daylight. This is a moral crisis impacting the youth of our country. Our government must stop funding this lawlessness. We have to rebuild an immigration system that respects human dignity and the rule of law. We must abolish ICE, and we must hold accountable everyone who's taken part in this systemic violation of the law.
Thank you. I wanted to let that sit for a minute because I think it's very important to hear, and not just hear, but listen and think about. Thank you. I do want to note, as of this past spring, I do believe we've made sure that everyone in our district knows that the schools are a safe place and that immigration is welcome to come on the campus when they have a signed judicial warrant for a specific person. And until then, they are not welcome on the campus. They're not welcome to act on our campus.
Those documents will come to me before they're allowed entry.
Yes. So to Director Greenherron's point of putting the primacy of safety and security of our students, parents, and staff, unfortunately, we had an opportunity to practice this work in this community earlier last year. But it does mean that we have that practice and we have those practices in place. Are there any other comments or questions or, comments or reports from the board? Then with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.